Okay, so welcome back to our series of Pinaud katas. Sensei Kerry here to help me again. Before we start cracking on with the kata, I'd just like to sincerely thank those who've actually put the thumbs up and who've actually joined the group. So yeah, we're doing well for numbers now, and it's all down to you guys. If it wasn't for you guys putting thumbs up or even putting, you know, quotes or anything on there, comments, yeah, then we'd most probably stop. Yeah, but we're getting very good responses. So hopefully we must be doing something right. Thank you. Minasan. Hey! 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 Okay, so what we're going to do now is try and break the kata down, and some of the things I might do, might suggest, well, it's entirely up to you and your instructor. These are just my interpretations, but there won't be much difference in the kata, but maybe the different thought process will be there. So, first of all, when I learned Pinaud Sandan for the first time, this was about a Jodan Uki, and then you would be doing a Jodan Uki and a Gidan Barai at the same time, and then a Jodan Uki and a Gidan Barai at the same time. When you actually come to try and do that, I can do it very easily, but the Uchi, let's show you what we mean. So, first one, it's Gaiwan. Then we stand up and it's Gaiwan again and blocking down. And then Gaiwan again, Jodan, and blocking down. But this doesn't seem to be doing anything because Sensei Kerry here, he can't do this and this, or a Zuki and a Kerry, exactly at the same time. So this one's fine, the first one, but the next one, it's either Jodan, but then I've got to wait until he's actually going to do the action of whether it's Chudan Zuki or a Kerry. So the kata would have been, there would have been a pause in it. There would have been 1, 2, and 3. Then there would have been 4, 5. You know, you cannot do a Kerry and Zuki at the same time, unless you're going to do, yeah, this sort of technique. So, our thoughts are that if you're doing Uki with one, then you must be striking with the other. So, you need to travel in towards the attacker. So, instead of just sitting down and turning into the cat stance, we need to watch how you're punching. We need to move in, move in, move in. Then we'll get closer. But the next step is, and I learnt this from Takamizawa Sensei, is instead of using this one as the Uki, yeah, then this one. Step back. This one. This one. And then you can use this bottom one. This one would be an Uki. This one would be the strike. Again, punch, center, block, strike. So this movement here coming into the center, coming into the centre. Then you could possibly use this as a strike. So it's a different tack. The only difference you will see, if you can stop there, the only difference you will see is this hand movement. So conventional, just using the one hand. This one, not much of a difference, but practicality-wise, I believe there is a big difference. And if you're doing it Gordon Ash, this is hardly noticeable. It's not an extra move. Your body's going that way anyway, and you're covering. In fact, this is the start of Seishan kata. There's movements in this one where you'll see in Seishan. And when we come to do, no, let's do it now. So in Seishan, yeah, you'll be here, and then uke. So when the punch comes in, this is the uke. So it's basically, if we do it with our hand, yeah, this is the uke, this is the clearing, and this is the punch down. For those of you who are doing Seishan, yeah, then you know that you punch down because the arm's in the way. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3. That's why the punch is down. You can't punch Chu down because this arm. So again, once more, 1, then down. So if you see that similarity in Pinang Sandan, Jodan, 1, cover, cover. So try it with a partner, try it by yourself, yeah, but make sure the body's going and attacking. So also hitting, try and get it to touch, and take your body weight in on the attack, not just on the spot. You need to take your body in. Yeah, let your partner tell you if he feels or she feels that movement, not just a hit. While we're looking at cat stance, Neko Ash, I believe the Neko Ash stance, cat stance, is a transient stance. You shouldn't be stopping there, you should be going through. So when you're doing single moves, yes. But really you should be flowing through it. Yeah? When you try not to just drop and put your foot to the side. Body in. Then you're taking your body forward into the attack. So it's quite involved. The first few moves can be a little bit difficult, or they can be very basic. Basic, block, block, block. Or you can be a little bit more involved. Get the body to flow forward. Get this one to do the uke, this one to clear. Yeah, when you're going forward, you're bringing your chest in anyway. This will cover Chudan or Jodan, then clear. So, a lot there for you to do in your kata and your partner work. And when you come to do your Seishan, yeah, uke, clear, punch. Taking your body weight forward. Taking your body weight forward. Wish. Okay, so we're looking at the next combination of moves. So we'll do the moves in the kata, and then what we'll do is try and break it down and do the kaisetsu or the bunkai for it, just to give an explanation of the moves. So here we go. So we've got to here with the kata. Okay, so we're coming across, covering, nukatai, taking our body back, not just turning, not back foot across, but we weight back and turning the hip down. Either into the small of your back or just to the right-hand side. Okay, now grip with your right hand. Don't lift the right heel. Get your body weight to go through straight and turn. Next, and Zuki. So you will start on a kiai and you will end on a kiai. So what are we doing here? So, punch, Jordan. So again, cover block. I'd be going in to try and take or cover, nukatai. I'm not a fan of nukatai, but trying to take, but they're moving back, and this time they're going to grab. So if I take my back foot across to turn, they will pull me off balance. If I start to straighten this leg, can you see what's happening to Sensei Keri? It's coming towards me. Then turn. If I do not put my head down, if I've got my head up, first of all, he can punch back of my head. Also, I find it very difficult to grab this hand. If I go down, now I've grabbed the wrist. Now, straight back in, and MP, break, and also strike. Also, I can bring my hand out again. So break, MP if need be, strike. And make sure you keep them within distance for the punch. So once more. Yeah, 1, 2, weight back, down, grab, through. Turn. I've got the lock here with the grip and my body. MP to break, wrist at the same time, and strike. Control them to punch. So if we do the move again with the kata, we'll do the kata facing this way. So cover uki, weight back, turn, grab, strike, strike, and hold and punch. So try and use a partner, try and get this grip on the wrist. Going straight back, try not to swing round. You need to keep your head down and really enter. Irimi, enter into him. Then elbow is going to come in. This is going to break. Controlling him. And the Zuki. So we're going to look at the next part, the uki using MP. We'll try and break it down and we'll try and explain what we're doing. So we'll start off here. Kaisoku. You're attacking, so you need to pull this fist back. You're not automatically thinking about uki. So you go forward, pull the fist back, then across, strike, turn. I'm attacking, so I pull the elbow back, ready for a punching. Across, strike and back. Next one again, pulling back, across. This one higher. Now, punch. Okay, so if you try and break it down from here, not leaving the elbow where it is. If you're going forward, you're attacking. So, not this. I understand that Shotokan, they use Keri-to uke as well, but this one, pull back, ready for the punch, and uke. Now, when you do it, you keep it to this minimum. I see people doing this sort of uke, but here, just covering or bringing this across to do MP, uke. Then strike, turn and back. Going forward, pull it back, across, strike and back. Forward, across, strike higher. So when we strike higher, Junzuki, change stance. Ready? So I'm going to step forward and you're going to do Gakuzuki. So here, you can't strike Jodan. The arm's in the way. So here, and pull back. Same here, I'm going forward, cover, strike Tetsui, and pull back. Pull back, here. This time, strike higher. Can you see how by striking high, it takes this up, ready for the punch? So, with the last one, across, not higher than your shoulder, strike higher. Sort of if you relate to the armpit, go to the armpit, not strike the armpit, but he takes this end up and ready for the Zuki. Also, when you are striking, turn, pull back. Yeah, Sensei Schmitz illustrated this by doing a certain type of exercise, and it's quite interesting. You might find you want to try it with one of your students or colleague. So if you would you this way. So if you put your arm here and hold it as tight as you can, yeah, this, you can move it quite easily. If you turn and try, and don't lean forward, don't lean into it, okay, and the other way. You can visually see there's a difference because it's a different muscle structure. So, uke, strike, pull back. Yeah, try and make that as part of the technique instead of just bringing it back. 1, 2. Doesn't have to slow it down. It's just the way that you bring it back down. Hush. Thank you. Okay, so we've got to here. Now the final moves is Pinan Sandan. So you come up just slightly wider than your shoulders. Yeah? Remember this position here. Now we go across. Now we're going to go across to where that foot position was. You're slightly wider than your yoi stance. So right foot in. Then to finish, left foot, right foot. So from here, step forward and we've done punch. So we come up and across and we try and get back to where our foot originally was. And yamen. And left foot, right foot. Nore. We're going to be looking at the applications of that, the bunkai or the kai sets. I've seen various attempts at explaining it, and the one that we're going to do now, I learnt with Sensei Takamezawa. I've seen ones where you drop down and you're going across and you're coming up in MP and punching. you believe that or you want to do that, that's fine, not a problem. This one, it's a little bit more entertaining, a little bit more involved. So I'm going to demonstrate that with the help of my two colleagues this time. As you know, we have Sensei Kerry, and the newcomer to the scene is 50% of the filming and editing team, Simon. Okay, so guys, right? Okay, let's hope we don't hurt Simon too much. Okay. So, we've stepped forward and punched, but this time they grab. Kerry's here to try and attack. So I need to move out the way. So if you don't do that at the sec, just while I'm there. So when I go forward, I want to be engaging this to have some effect on here. And I'm grabbing. I'm trying to slow it down so as you can see the grab. Then I'm coming round to the neck. Got them here. Choke, but also this way. This one, this goes in. Not only choking, but you're actually attacking. Then Sensei Kerry is trying to punch me here. But I'm going to put Simon in the way. And again, I've gone the other way. Now to finish it off, pushing back at the attacker. I'm sure if you practice this one, you'll enjoy it. So we try it the other side just to show you. Again, Sensei Kerry's here, trying to punch me. I'm going to be moving away. And I want to be turning to grab. In deep. Coming round and lock. Then push across. Take the other side into the lock. Actually like a mirror image of the one uke. So the one will be here. Then I'm pulling him across, so as I'm using him as a barricade. Then push away. And up. Wish. One last, okay, thank you guys. One last item that once you've gone through your kata, if we started from here, then really when you finish your moves, okay, right leg, left leg, right leg, you need to be about 1, 2, stand up. That gives you an idea whether you've used the correct lengths of stances, correct widths, you've actually kept the center line. So it's a good check for center line and your stances. When you finish, try 1, 2, stand up. If it's too far away, just cheat. No, you just natural step in. Two steps, that should be fine.
So on the previous videos, we've had a look at the history of the Pinan kata series. And as mentioned, they were created by Anko Itosu. And people have said it was for children, but he actually taught his adult students as well. Interesting in the name, I think in sort of Japanese, Pinan translates as peace or tranquility. But in the more Chinese perspective of the name, it means stay safe. People have argued that he named them Pinan because by practicing the techniques, learning the techniques of the bunkai and the applications, you could stay safe in a combat situation. Funakoshi changed it to Heian, which is more Japanese sounding, to make it more appealing to Japanese people on the Japanese mainland. So a little bit of sort of history of the kata. It feels from practicing the bunkai and the applications we've done for this kata and the research and training, it feels like a step up from the first two. it feels like it's more complicated and the ideas that are in it are more complicated. Certainly with katas like Naihanchi, Seishan, 3 to 5 years, students would practice those katas full time. And it wasn't just a case of, repeating the kata over and over again to 3 or 5 years. It was looking at every aspect of every movement, every possible permutation of outcome or application of those movements, until you had an absolute total understanding and usable version in your mind. If anything happened, you didn't need to think about it. You just instantly reacted using the techniques you spent 3-5 years learning. So I'm not sure what the length of time Itosu would have taught these students this, but potentially even if it was only a year full time with your Pinan Nidan, Pinan Shodan, by the time you got to Sandan, you would have had quite a few years of practice. And certainly it feels like a step up from the first two in complexity. So hopefully what we can show today with the applications and the ideas, that will be reflected in the fact it is a little bit more advanced and a little bit more along the road. So with the series so far, we've been doing key points that you can take away from this kata. So when you're practicing, you can keep these in your mind and hopefully get the best out of the kata. So as Sensei mentioned, this concept of using two-handed blocking, Myoto Dei, husband and wife hands. So a marriage is a partnership, and this is reflected in the double-handed technique rather than a single-handed technique. And if you've seen the breakdown and key points in application, it does make a difference. You can sort of cover ground and make it more of an attacking move rather than a static defensive move. Myoto Dei is very, very common in Okinawan systems. They almost exclusively use double-handed blocking. So this is probably going back to its original Okinawan roots and reintroducing Myoto Dei rather than single-handed blocking. So something certainly worth experimenting with in your partner work, because it does make a significant difference. The second point is Okinawan had its own wrestling and grappling system called Tagumi. And karate seems to have lost its throwing techniques. 100 years ago, karate was a much more rounded system. Gichin Funakoshi's books contain 9 throws. So clearly in his karate system, throwing, wrestling, grappling was an integral part of the art. And with the advent of sports karate, it seems to have got a little bit lost. But Tagumi, wrestling and grappling concepts are certainly in there if you look at them and interpret movements in a slightly different way. And we're doing an application and variation section of the kata. Hopefully we can show you some of those from more of a grappling Tagumi perspective than a traditional block punch karate perspective. So that might sort of change your perception of the kata a little bit. Third key point is, as Sensei mentioned, it's almost like a gateway into more advanced katas like Seishan. And again, Seishan is using this Myoto Dei principle, double hand blocking. So people say this came from Chanan, Kata and Kushanku, but there's also elements of other systems and other more advanced katas in there. So if you sort of think of your Sandan as using Myoto Dei, then Seishan is not going to be such a difficult leap to grasp this concept. The final point, and again Sensei mentioned this in the breakdown, is weight shifting. It's not static. There is a definite shift in weight downwards and forwards. And this hand movement, this Myoto Dei, allows you much more easily to achieve that. Your body is moving in that direction rather than it being on the spot. So again, a little bit of introduction to weight shifting, which becomes more and more important as you go through the syllabus and get more advanced in your training. So this is a good place to start thinking about it and trying to apply it. So we've got Simon here to help us. He's normally the other side of the camera, recording all of this and working really hard editing it. What you see on YouTube is only a fraction of the amount of work he's actually put in to get it into as best quality as we can achieve. As mentioned in the key points, this idea of Tagumi, the Okinawan wrestling system. And we tend to look at a lot of these techniques as purely karate. But with a slight shift in mindset, they can be actually wrestling takedown style movements. So in the section where we have the block nukete, if you've been doing Okinawan karate for 30 years and bashing your fingers into rocks, you may be able to use that as a fighting system. But I think more realistically, it can set you up for a throw. So, for example, if we've had a Jodan attack, we've blocked. Instead of thinking this as a strike, we can use this round the back. So now we can twist the arm and use the foot movement and the body shift to take him down and strike. So a slight shift in mindset, it stops being a nukete and becomes a setup for a takedown. A classic judo tai otoshi, this hand is used to lift before you take down. So again, you can imagine this, instead of being a nukete, is taking him upwards. Then we can take him down. So just a change in how you think about it. If he's covered his solar plexus, we can use this, instead of thinking of it as a nukete, we can take this hand, drive it down to his hip to unbalance him. Now we can use the takedown. So all of a sudden your nukete from a so-so strike is actually setting you up into takedowns, which is very much old school karate. The concept of Tagumi, a lot of practical karate guys, Ian Abernethy and people like that, they do this three-phase system. The first phase is the classic striking techniques. The second phase is grappling. And the third phase would be on the floor into jiu-jitsu type floor work. So if we're in a grapple situation, this section of the kata has got a different interpretation. If we're in a grapple and he's got the top position and he's trying to strong arm me, I can use this So instead of thinking it as I block against a punch, it's a way to break his position, strike. So not much of a difference, but a whole lot of difference if you find yourself swamped. A lot of people out there now doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, MMA, and they want to grapple, they want to stand and strike. That's not their game. So just thinking about this a little bit differently, give you some more tools. And you can almost double the two up if you go that leg forward. We're in the grapple position. I can break him, strike, take his leg, now use takedown. So two sections of the kata and the nukete. We've broken a grappling position and taken him to the floor. So useful to think about it slightly differently. And I think this kata really does emphasise that. So hopefully you'll find that useful. There are variations within different styles, and it's always useful to have a look at what other people are doing, because you can get new ideas. And while researching this, had a look at the Kyokushin version. The same, but they then do Kiristo before turning. And it seems to be that they use this as a means of controlling an opponent's leg. So if you come in. So we get the attack, Mio today. I try to get around his back to do the throw. He sees it coming, moves out the way. So now I'm take this leg inside or this way, use it to unseat him. And take him down. So that's a nice sort of variation, this Kiristo, and it gives us yet another flavour of takedown. So if you're Wado guys, steal stuff from other people. If you're non-Wado guys, hopefully steal stuff from Wado. And just round out your karate, give you a lot more options than just sticking exactly to one thing.
So, conclusion for Pinan Sandan. We always knew that this was going to be a kata where we got a lot of information, quite a lot to say, quite a lot to demonstrate, and that's purely, again, because the Pinan Nidan, Pinan Shodan are very basic for a lower grade. Pinan Sandan, that's the game changer. I must admit, I didn't realise that it was so black and white. You know, Pinan Sandan is where it all sort of changes, because there's so much in there, so much involved with it. And we've tried to demonstrate that. We're not just doing, you know, the Wado versions. Even the kata that I did, mine's an amalgamation of Takamizawa Sensei and Shimizu Sensei. They're Pinan Sandan. It's not one purely Takamizawa Sensei's, or it's purely Shimizu Sensei's. I've tried to put them all together in there, just to give it more of a rounded, different perspective on the kata. Obviously, again, I stress it, if you're practicing these and your instructor doesn't like what you're doing, then, you know, don't do it. Don't do it. Go along with and respect them. I've always said that. And don't forget, we're trying to demonstrate here, as in with other katas, it's not strictly just the 4 directions. It's 180, you know, 360 degrees that you should be able to put these applications in. Yeah, it doesn't have to be there to do this. It can be coming in from here. It can be coming even from here. So don't just be blinkered. Yeah. Also think where your Pinan katas, where they're taking you. You know, Pinan Sandan, Seishan. Keep your mind open. As soon as you put those blinkers on, then you're going to stop learning. So, you know, and especially I learned things listening to Sensei Keri with the history. You know, we was in communication with our colleagues across the Atlantic, and I was repeating it to these guys, and they go, "Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what it is." So we've tried to include that, and this leads me on to, you know, don't just watch the videos, but let's have some communication with you guys. I don't mind you know, messaging me or that, but it'd be nice sometimes to put some of these comments with the video. Yeah. Right underneath, then you can see what other people are realising. Not just, oh, that was good, that was bad, but just a little bit of communication, you know, and it sets ideas off as well. So it's not just the filming, it's the communication with you guys. Yeah, so we hope you've enjoyed it. We certainly have, especially this one.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah, okay. And of course, we had our star roll with Simon in there today. Another part of the crew is Rob Curry, one of our guys up north. He vets the videos, so he's another part of the team. He looks at it as an outsider, even though he's part of the group. He comes on the courses, but we film these, edit it, and then send it up to him for him to comment on them, because he's not been here on the day, he's not been involved with what we've been doing, what we've been discussing, but he just vets the final product, and it's valued communication on, you know, what we're saying and what we're doing, what we're videoing, how we're filming it, lighting, sound. It's a whole package in there that he does take some time out and check. So thank you very much, Rob.
And on Saturday gone, Sensei Alex Bittner came up from Guildford to train with us. And as per usual, we went for a pint afterwards. And he commented on my habit of pacing backwards and forwards when I'm doing my little piece to camera. So it makes him seasick. So hopefully, Alex, I kept still this time and you don't feel quite so bad.
So thank you very much indeed. Don't forget the thumbs up. Or the thumbs down. Ready? Hey. Shh.